Hello friends, how are you doing? My name is Olivia and this is my YouTube channel Pumpkin Hollow Quilts. Today is Thursday, February 29th, 2024. It is Leap Day, so happy Leap Day. Although by the time you see today's video, it will be March, so happy March. So I hope you guys are all doing well and that you've gotten a lot of progress on the variety of projects that you've all been working on. Last week we ended up having amazing weather here, very spring-like. It was so nice to be outside and soak up that vitamin D. Here in Oregon it rains a lot of the time, so we can go days and days without seeing the sun. So it was just really nice to, have that first taste of spring. Although it was a false spring because old man winter is back. We have snow mixed with rain today. The wind has just been really cold. Rain, rain, rain. So yeah, it was so nice to have spring last week. I'm really looking forward to it. And, getting out and working in the flower beds again and getting everything prepped for spring flowers. Can't wait. I do have some gardening plans, not as much as I've done in previous years, but I plan on buying just a lot of hydrangeas and planting them everywhere because I love them. They do so well here. And that's really the only, gardening plans I have for this year. But I am looking forward to it whenever spring does arrive, probably in May. So I feel like over the past 2 weeks, I was pretty productive. I don't know if it was because we had that burst of sunshine and, got some of that natural vitamin D soaked up, but I definitely felt very energized to work on projects again. The quilt machine, I know a lot of you guys asked about it. I have worked with the machine since it's come back. I quilted the quilt hanging up behind me. This quilt is the one I was working on when the machine went kaput. And so I just kind of had to work up the gumption to go out and work with the machine again. It definitely doesn't sound the same, because they did, put some new parts on it, and I don't know if that's what it is, but definitely kind of took me aback a little bit with the way that it, the noise that it made. It just definitely did not sound the same. But I did quilt some quilts. I've quilted some client quilts. I have more client quilts to work on. I have some that were here before the machine broke down and are still here, so I would like to get those finished so I could get them back to their person. And then I had some that did come in last week, so I definitely have some long arm quilting in my future, so definitely fingers crossed that the machine still continues to be in working condition. But the quilt hanging up behind me is called Carol's Churn Dash. I'm sorry, I do not remember what the name of the pattern designer. I ended up passing the pattern on to a friend of mine. And if I think about it, I'll send her a text message and see if she's got the pattern handy to where she can give me that information. But I can't take credit for putting the entire quilt together. My friend Yvette, she made probably, I would say 80-85% of the quilt and sent it to me, and I finished it and then I quilted it. I've been trying to practice feathers with my long arm motif. I don't have a computerized machine, so I have to do all the driving, so whatever motif that gets put on the quilt comes directly from my brain. And I've been trying to practice feathers. These are what I would call wonky feathers because I just kind of do little, I don't even know what you want to call them, bumps and then swirls, and then there's sort of like a leafy looking bump that's in there. It's not perfect, but the only way to learn how to when you're, trying to learn a quilt motif, the only way to really get it cemented in your brain and get very confident with it is to quilt it on one of your quilts, and then, quilt it and quilt it and quilt it and quilt it. So that's what I did. I think it looks okay. I was a little bit worried that it would look full of mistakes and all the bits, but I really like it. I think it turned out great. I love it. Freddie also really loved the quilt. I posted a photo of him, I think, in my Instagram stories, and I'll insert a picture. Maybe at the beginning of the video I'll show him. He sort of claimed the quilt for himself, and he definitely was not happy that I hung it up. But I told him, just bear with me, let me hang it up for a little while, and then it's all yours. But we both really love it. I am going to go ahead and dive in and start talking about all of the goodies that I have to talk about in today's video. Since today is Leap Day, I thought I would start with my Leap Day new start. It's the first time I've ever done a Leap Day start. I am usually the person that comes along on Leap Day, sees all of the wonderful new starts, and wish that I would have had the foresight to do it ahead of time so that I also could have a Leap Day start. What I decided to work on is his Eye on the Sparrow by Heartstrings Samplery. So some people, when they do Leap Day starts, they will start big, giant samplers. They call them BAPs. A lot of you guys, there's different, keywords that go into a BAP. I'm going to say it's a big, awesome project because this project is very awesome. So I will be starting this one tonight, and I love it. I've seen it in person. They have it up at Acorns and Threads, and every time I go up there, I always end up back in the area where it's at. I always say to myself I should start it, but it's such a humongous project that this will take me quite a while to work on. So I have 4 years to complete it, because the goal of a Leap Day start is you start a big giant project on Leap Day, and then you work on it over the course of 4 years and just make a commitment to get it done by the next Leap Day. I will be stitching his Eye on a Sparrow on a piece of 40 count One More Reproduction by BeStitchMe. And this is what it looks like. I purchased this from Hollis Hands Creates. I have it folded in half. It's just a little bit easier to control folded in half because it is a fat half, I believe is what it's called. I usually deal with fat quarters or fat eighths, so I believe this is a fat half. I love it. It's such a gorgeous color. I am a huge fan of the earth tones and neutral. I just love it. So fantastic. I also have all of the called for threads. Some I had from my stash, and then some I did purchase from Hollis Hands Creates as well. But I think this is gonna look amazing with these colors. So I can't wait to start. So I'll be working on that tonight. And then I think going forward, it will, I don't want to say every Sunday I'll work on this, but it will be a Sunday stitch. And I've been told by many of you guys who have already stitched it that once you get going, it's really hard to put down, and that I most likely will have it finished within the next couple of years. So hopefully that's true. I do love it. Again, it's such a beautiful sampler, and I am so looking forward to starting it. So fun. My next new start is actually a restart for me, and it is The Shores of Hawkburn Hollow by Carotel Samplings. So this one, I think in my last video, I showed the very first block finish, which is the lighthouse block here. I loved working on it, loved finishing it. My favorite part of it was that big happy sun up in the corner. Celebrated the block finish, and then so I recorded my video on Friday, got it edited, got it up on YouTube, and then I joined my friends who are also stitching. The majority of them are stitching The Shores of Hawkburn Hollow. A lot of us have like other ones that we're working on too. So I decided, since I had finished both the houses and shores, that I would go ahead and get a little bit of head start on shores and work on the outline of the next block. And got to chatting, had a great time visiting with friends. The Zoom meeting ended, and I took my shores to put it away in the mocking basket of whips, and I was walking past the, I have Autumn at Hawthorne Hollow hanging up just as you go into my bedroom. And I don't know what it was that made me kind of stop and pause, but I got to thinking that my shores block looks way bigger than my Autumn Hawthorne Hollow blocks. And while I was thinking about it, I felt like my houses block, the stitches were way more dainty than my shores block. So I pulled my shores block out of the bag and I compared it to my Autumn at Hawthorne Hollow blocks, and it was way bigger. And I kind of, I was like, you know what? I'm sure it's fine. This block, maybe it is just a little bit bigger than the other two. I'll look into it in the morning. It'll be fine. So I get up in the morning and I decide to first compare the size of the blocks. The stitch counts are relatively the same. And so the panic started to set in a little bit. And then I sent a message to my friends and I said, I have a really, really bad feeling that I'm stitching this on 36 count because it looks way bigger than it should. So I did the count where you measure out an inch and then you count the threads, and it was 36 count. On a piece of 36 count, in order to get all of the blocks to fit, you need a way bigger piece than a fat quarter. And no matter, the piece of linen's actually cut crooked, so the blocks just wouldn't fit. They just wouldn't fit. Like, I did all the measurements, I counted, it wouldn't fit. And I was so bummed. What happened was the piece of linen was marked incorrectly from the seller. And I really wish that when I was working on it, that it would have dawned on me that this looks way bigger than it should, but I was just having a great time stitching, and it just did not dawn on me until I had already finished the piece. So what I decided to do is I'll unpick this block here, and this one I'll cut out and I'll either make it into a little small or put it in a little frame. Haven't decided yet. I actually thought my journey with shores was going to come to an end, and maybe sometime down the road I would get a larger piece of linen and start over again. But Yvette so very generously sent me another piece of linen so that I could restart the shores and continue on with them. So I'm going to stitch the shores of Hawthorne Hollow on a piece of 40 count Prairie Grass by Seraphim Fabrics, and Carol Crago is stitching hers on the same piece of Prairie Grass, and I love it. To me, it's not coming up true to color in the viewfinder, but to me it looks like a very moody Oregon coast day. So maybe it was meant to be that I would find my way to this piece of linen and start over again and make it a little bit more of an Oregon coast piece. But so very generous of Yvette to send it to me so that way I can restart it. So the friends that I'm stitching it with said that they would stop stitching on their shores until I finish the first block. So I will be picking that up and working on it in March. And then I'm hoping that I can get it finished by the end of March. So I'll have Elizabeth Furness, that is my #1 priority. And then the shores of Hawthorne Hollow will be right there with hers. Over the past 2 weeks, I've worked on a fun variety of projects, and these are in no particular order of how I worked on them. But I was able to work on Christmas in My Heart by Samplers Not Forgotten. I started this one in December last year, and I've worked on it a couple of times since the new year. Still working on the house. It is a massive beast of a house, but it's going to be so worth it in the end. I absolutely love working on it, love the color of the house. So I believed I worked on this 1.5 evenings. And I worked a little bit on the second story, worked some on that first window, and completed the wreath. So when I pick this up again, I'm hoping that I will be able to finish the second floor. I have a feeling that once I get the house done, everything else will go really quick. But I love working on it. Such a beautiful project. And my goal is to get this done by Christmas this year. I want it hanging on my wall. So I'm working on Christmas in My Heart on a piece of 40 count Vintage Meadow Rue by Lakeside Linens, and I'm stitching it with the called for threads and stitching it 1/2. And I absolutely love this so much. I love the linen. I love the way the colors are just popping on it. So beautiful. I think I was in a Christmas stitching mood because I also worked on Christmas at Hollyberry Farms by Stacy Nash. I love working on this one. I love the colors. It's just right up my wheelhouse, and I just love it. So here is my progress. I decided to go ahead and finish the border. And I'm not sure next where I will work, whether I will work at the little sampler alphabet numbers that's at the top, or if I will work on the one corner above the fence where the house goes. But I decided that I wanted to get the border done, much like I had done with Halloween at Hollyberry Farms. And I have to say, nobody does a border better than Stacy Nash. I love it. I loved working on the border, and I'm so excited to now begin working on the inside of this piece. So I am stitching Christmas at Hollyberry Farms on a piece of 36 count Hogsbristle by Fox and Rabbit, and I am using the called for threads, stitching it 1/2, and I love it. And I know my lady down there in the corner looks a little lonely, so maybe I will add her chickens and then move over to the house. But this is another one that I would like to get done for Christmas this year. I want it hanging on my wall. I want to be able to enjoy it. I love it. All of the threads that is being used in the sampler are all of my favorite colors. I love it. I was able to put some stitches in on Steward Hardman by Needlework Press. And I finished the February assignment, which is the one that I assigned. And I am stitching this with my friend Yvette. The assignment that we did is this motif here. So we stitched this motif and then a couple of the border flowers. And here is my progress. So I love working on her so much. She is just such an absolute joy. I think when the sampler is done, it's going to be so beautiful. I love it. Love working on her. She's always so hard to put down once the assignment is done. But I look forward to working on her each and every month. So I am stitching Sarah on a piece of 36 count Vintage Buttercream by Lakeside Linens, and I am stitching it with Classic Colorworks 1/2. And the Classic Colorworks are the ones that are listed in the chart. I think in my last video I was in progress of working on this one, and that is Casting a Spell by Blackbird Designs. So the block that I was working on is this one up here. I believe it's number 9. And I think I had a good bit of it done. I just had to finish filling in the house. And I was able to complete that. So that is the block there. I love this one. It's so cute. I cannot wait to get all of them done and start working on putting them in the box and then having them out this year for Halloween. Definitely been a goal of mine for many, many years to work on this one and get it done. So I'm stitching Casting a Spell on a piece of 30 count gray by Weeks Dye Works, which I believe is the called for. On the chart is listed as Confederate gray, but they have changed it to just gray. And I am using all of the called for threads, and I'm stitching it 2/2. I love it. Looks so good. So good. I did spend 3 evenings working on Plum Street Samplers Live on Little. So the goal with this one is to try to get it done before the end of summer. I thought maybe I could get it done by the beginning of June, but I definitely don't think I will. But that's okay. So as long as I get it done during summer, I'll be happy. So here is the progress that I made. What I decided to do is go down and fill in the boat, which it's washing out really bad on camera, but it is filled in. And I think that once I get the water stitched around it, it'll just pop right up. Worked a little bit on the waves underneath the boat. And there are 3 flags that you stitch. You do them based on your initials. So I did do that. And I think the next time I work on this, I will complete the side border. There's still 1 flower motif left to stitch, and then there's some stars that you put in. So I will work on that. And then my goal is to make my way over to this big giant house. I want to do the outline of the house so that way I know, because I did make a couple of mistakes, and so I'm basically fudging things. But the house will be in the correct position. So I want to put the house in its correct position, just do the outline of it, and then I will return to doing fill-in. I love this one. I love working on it a lot. It's so beautiful, and I can't wait to have it done. But basically, I've just hit the parts where I need to do some outlining and then a lot of fill-in, which I do enjoy fill-in, especially, you know, anytime you don't have to count anything, that makes me pretty happy. So I'm stitching Live on Little on a piece of 36 count American Chestnut, and I am using the called for threads, stitching it 1/2. So I've been trying to incorporate smalls into my rotation, because when I did all of the new starts last summer, one thing I didn't do a lot of was incorporating smalls into that. And this time of the year especially, I am lacking in smalls to display around my house. So I decided that once a week, and whatever day I decide to work on it during the week, it'll change just kind of depending. I think it'll just kind of end up being in between larger projects, but I would like to have some sort of a small going, something that I will work on until it's done, and then I will start something new. So I decided to work on Spring Awakens by Brenda Gervais with Thy Needle and Thread. I believe it came out last year at market. I purchased it. It's just been hanging out waiting. I had some of the threads, some I had to substitute, but I had the called for linen, which was a 40 count Vintage Country Mocha. I just decided to go for it. So I've worked on this twice, and this is the progress that I've made. So I'm thinking Saturday I might pick this up and work on it again, or I might wait until after Elizabeth is done before I start back on shores, and just kind of squeeze this in between. We'll see. But I love working on this one. It's so much fun. And really, when I was making the transition between winter and spring decor yesterday, I really discovered the lack of spring smalls that I have. So that's definitely something that I really need to actively remedy. So once I get this done, depending on what time of the month in March it is, I might just go ahead and start something else that's springy. So love working on this. It's so fun. And it actually goes a lot faster than I thought it would, because there is a lot of stitching on the little rabbit, and then there's his companion, and she's got a full dress. So definitely got to lay some stitches down, but I'm excited and happy with the project, or with the progress that I've made so far. And I love working on this sweet little small. So I'm stitching Spring Awakenings on a piece of 40 count Vintage Country Mocha, and I'm using a variety of threads, stitching it 1/2. I did get a little bit of mail over the past couple of weeks. From Cedar River Linen and Designs, I was able to snag a piece of coffee stain linen in 40 count. So this was one of the new colors that they came out with. And here is what it looks like. It is gorgeous. And I'm thinking, I bought the Dutch Rose sampler, and I have it kitted with a piece of linen, but I'm kind of thinking I might switch it for this. It's dark and dirty, and I love it. So this is the first piece of linen that I've ever bought from Cedar River Linens. I just happened to be on Instagram when they announced that their new colors, or their new linen colors, had released and were available on their website. So I was able to jump right on and snag it. I'm usually not that lucky. So it took a couple of weeks and it arrived in the mail. I love it. I'm looking forward to stitching on it and, you know, seeing how working with the linen feels. But I love it. They are based out of Washington, and all of their linen colors are kind of done in sort of like Pacific Northwest colors, and I think that's really cool. So in my last video, I talked a little bit about how eventually I would love to make a Baltimore album quilt. It's kind of like my holy grail. And Celeste of Celeste Creates contacted me. She had recently received bins of fabric from a quilter who had passed away. Civil War reproduction fabric, which I'm so super excited for her, and I cannot wait to see the quilts that she'll make from it. But she also, there were books in there, and so she had these two books that she decided to pass on to me, which was so very generous of her. The first one is The Best of Baltimore Album Beauties, and I've been flipping through this one little by little, and it's so full of inspiration. So many amazing quilt blocks in here. I mean, look at this gorgeous house. So I've had a blast looking through that book. And then this one I haven't had a chance to look through yet, but it is The Best of Baltimore Beauties Part 2. I mean, that quilt block on the front is magnificent. So looking forward to getting to this one and flipping through it, but so much information and inspiration, and I love these books. So thank you so very much, Celeste. I received a package from Barb, and she had contacted me. She had some charts that she wanted to pass along for me to do in future giveaways, and so that package arrived. She sent me this card, and I'm going to go through the charts really, really fast. The first one is Colorado Cross Stitchers Good Tiding, Peace and Joy, Mary, Noel, which is super cute. And this is called In the Meadow. It also comes with the buttons. Very, very cool. There is a piece of really fun linen that would make an amazing project bag, so I might have to snag that one for myself. The Bee Company Noel tag. So this is kind of a little kit. Fa La La cross stitch by Hello from Liz Matthews. It also does come with the linen, or the Ada. Two by Julia by Shakespeare's Peddler. I love them both. Jane Free Barn 1850. I might have said that one wrong. Queenstown Sampler Grace Harding. Agnes Murdoch 1788. I love this one by Merry Wind Farms. Yes, Merry Wind Farms. Merry Christmas Wishes, Kathy Barrick. Such a fun tree. This one is a band sampler by Patricia Clements. Traditional Samplers. Very cool. This one is a loft by Hello from Liz Matthews. I almost said by Liz Matthews. Sheepest Designs, Here's to You. Not doing a very good job. I don't have my glasses on. This one is Sheepest Designs Busy Bee. So fun. So there's a bunch of these. These are all by, I can't even pronounce that. I'll just show it there. But fun designs. I'm just gonna flash them. Chilly winter, warm spring, which we need, hot summer, which will be in August, Swedish strawberry. This one's so cute. When I think of traveling, the most wonderful time, a Christmas one, sweet holidays. I've never seen these before, so that was fun to see all these. Do not open, hope, love, happiness, sparkle and shine. That one's pretty cool. When I think of cooking, Heartstrings Sampleries, a mighty fortress is our God. Is that what it is? It's just called a mighty fortress, sorry. And Cross Stitch Art by Teresa Kogut, You Are Worthy. Heartstrings Samplery, Perry Pryor. And Little House Needleworks, Fall on the Farm. She sent me a lot. It was so very generous of her. Busy Bee, Annie B's Folk Art. And then this is an alphabet series. Once again, I cannot pronounce that designer, but they're all alphabet blocks. Never seen these. So cool. Sorry, I'm just flashing them really quick. Trying to keep my eye on the time. Had to pause there. And that one, and that one. So cool. So thank you so very much, Barb. I'm not going to do a giveaway today, but maybe in my next video I will plan to do a giveaway. But thank you so very much, Barb, for sending those charts my way. It was so very generous of you. Look for those in future upcoming giveaways. And then I was contacted by Crystal, who on Instagram is Nana in Stitches. She contacted me because she also had some charts that she wanted to pass along for me to use in future giveaways. So she sent me this cute card, which is by Lori Holt. And there are some DMC charts, which I don't think I can show them because it is basically the chart. But there are 5 different DMC. They're all hearts, and they're very cute. It looks kind of like they might be seasonal a little bit, but very, very cute. She sent me some 22 count Hardanger. I've actually never seen Hardanger in person, so it was kind of cool to see it. I've heard it mentioned many times, but I've never seen it in person, so it was really cool to finally see it. And this is a 22 count. And then this one was a freebie from the designer that I cannot pronounce. And this is called Please Enter Your Pin, and this was a freebie from 2022. Cross Stitch Halloween Edition 2021. A design by Fox and Rabbit called the Shepherd Sampler, and this one was a freebie. That one's so pretty. I don't think I've seen that one before. The World of Cross Stitching magazine. I don't see a year. I'm sure the year is on there, but again, I don't have my glasses on. And then Charted Alphabets and Borders, Volume 2. So this one might be kind of cool to flip through because I'm always doing personalizing and always looking for good ideas on how to do the alphabets. She also sent me a little bit of lace, which I thought would look great on a project bag, but my daughter Allison saw it and thought it would look great on the bottom of a skirt. So she might end up snagging it from me. But thank you so very much, Crystal, for the giveaway charts. And again, look for those in future upcoming giveaways. I'm not doing a giveaway today, but possibly next video. And I know that a lot of you guys don't watch for the giveaways, and I've been kind of taking a little bit of a break from them just because I never can seem to get my act together. You know, I announce the winners, they contact me, and then it seems like it takes me forever to get the stuff packaged up and sent, and I hate that. And it's usually, you know, I have every intention of sending it out, and then I just forget. And then it's like 3 days later, I remember it at like 2 o'clock in the morning. So I took a little bit of break from it, but maybe in my next video we'll do like a fun spring giveaway, and we'll go from there. So, you know, but just not today. And the last bit of mail I received was a thank you card from Laura. She had won one of my giveaways, and she sent me this very cute thank you card, such a sweet note inside. But she also included a $15 gift certificate to Starbucks, which was so very generous of her. I am a huge fan of Starbucks. I love coffee. If I sometimes feel like if somebody were to cut me open, my blood would be all coffee. But thank you so very much, Laura. I need to go take a drink. My voice is starting to go out. Usually happens about halfway through these videos. But thank you so very much, Laura. I do so appreciate it. It was so generous of you. And I can't wait to go down and get a nice warm cup of coffee. Okay, so guess what? I actually had quite a bit of time to work on quilts over the past 2 weeks, and that is just the way it sometimes happens. I can go a couple of weeks and not have any extra time, and then I can go another couple of weeks and suddenly I have extra time. So when I get the extra time, I just go for it. Now I've already talked about the quilt hanging up behind me, Carol's Churn Dash. I'll do my best to try to figure out who the designer is. But so what happened was I got my quilt machine back. This quilt I had to rehook up to the leaders and then finish quilting it because I had got to like right in here somewhere. So the top is up here, and I got like right in this section right here, and that's where my machine died. So I had the whole entire rest of the quilt to quilt. Thankfully, I was able to finish it, but then I was still a little bit nervous about hanging up or loading a client quilt once this one was done. So I decided to go ahead and pick another one of mine, figuring that if anything happened, it was my quilt, and you know, I would hate for it to be a client quilt. But the quilt I hung up was the Boardwalk quilt by Betsy Chechian. I worked on this one in the fall last year. It comes out of the book Snuggle Up, and I made it using fabric from Pam Buda's fabric line called Cheddar and Coal 2. And it was so fun. I know I did this with Katie of So Tattered, and here it is. So I decided to go ahead and do the same motif that I did in this one. So it's kind of like the funky feathers, and words are hard. I practiced it on this one again. So I think it looks okay. I am my own worst critic. So it's hard for me to say it looks perfect because I'm always gonna find something to be hard on myself about. But I love how it turned out. I love having it done. It most likely will be one that I leave out year round. A lot of the fall quilts I do, just because I love them. They're my favorite colors. So I have it finished. It's all bound, and it is ready for display. I made the decision to start a new quilt. Let me explain. So I have bins full of quilts to be made, and the pit of despair is awful. I was very tempted to rent a backhoe and just come in and just it's awful. There's been a lot of stuff happening in the house, like purging and things like that, and it all goes out there, and it's awful. And basically I just need to make a trip to the thrift store. But I was going through the quilts that I have that need to be made, and I made a list of them, and there's no time like the present to begin working on it. And basically I just pulled the first one that was on top and started it, and that's pretty much all I'm gonna do. I'm just gonna go down and just pull them and start them and finish them. So this one, my husband had given me a gift certificate for my birthday a couple of years to a local quilt shop called The Speckled Hen. And I went in there, and of course I blew that gift certificate immediately. But one of the quilts that I kitted up was out of the Civil War, the Big Book of Civil War Quilts, and it is called The Gettysburg Sun. It is by Carol Hopkins. And it's funny, as I'm looking through this book, the ones that really catch my eye are all done by Carol Hopkins. So this quilt, when done, it'll be 30 by 37. And I have, so you make 12 blocks. I have 3 of the 12 done. And here they are. I put these together while listening to an audiobook called We Were the Lucky Ones. That is an amazing book. If you get the chance to read it or listen to it, it was an amazing book. I enjoyed it, and such a good book. So while I was cutting and piecing, I was listening to it. So still got a ways to go, but I have 1 block cut out, and then I'm hoping that this coming weekend I'll get a little bit of time to put a couple more together. And then I cut out and pieced together block 7 of the quilt called Freedom Bound. This was a block of the month, and the quilt came to me with 6 months worth of blocks complete, and I just need to finish the last 6. So I started with block number 7, and this one, it probably took longer to cut out than it did to piece, and I love blocks like that they just go together really quickly. And so here it is. So this block of the month follows a slave named Hannah and her children. And so at month 7, this is life in Ohio, and her children are living in Ohio. And her story is definitely a very unique one. And even though she had, caught the eye of the man who owned her, and it kind of sounds like she became his wife in every way but name. I just can't imagine what her life would have been like. She would have been caught between 2 worlds. And, but I'm glad that finally she is living in Ohio with her children. And it's after this point that her husband James dies. And before he died, he did give her and his children their freedom papers, and then made sure, it kind of sounds like he paid their tuition to go to school. So, definitely not an easy life, but it sounds like he, in the end, did right by her, even though it would have still been a terrible set of circumstances. But block number 7 is done, and it's beautiful. I love it. And I'm hoping to cut out month 8. And then I think after month 8, the months that come after, you have to make a series of blocks to kind of tie the whole quilt together. Over these past 2 weeks, and while I was listening to We Were the Lucky Ones audiobook, I also finally worked on my first The Raven quilt block. So block number 1 is this one right here. And I've done different types of applique. I've done Lori Holt, so simple shapes. And then there was another applique that I did, 2 fabric applique, I think is what it's called. So I've done that. I've kind of dabbled a little bit, but never like real applique. And so this was kind of my first foray into appliquing. My points are not perfect. That is something I need to work on, but I was able to use my new Applique applique tools, which you can get from Olivia B's Hillside Rookery Etsy shop. And I have to say, I really enjoyed using the tools. I know there were times when I was working where I would get a little impatient and I would use my fingers to do the, where you flip the fabric over to the back side. And so I would use my fingers to do that. But then I would, say, no, let's try the tools, let's do the tools. And I really enjoyed it. I love the whole process, and I had a really great time using the Applique tool. So I definitely would highly recommend, if you're at all interested. I'll put a link to Olivia B's Etsy shop, Hillside Rookery. She also sells cross stitch charts as well. So definitely go and check out her shop. And here's my block. So I had a lot of fun working on this. I will be honest, I thought that I would be able to get this block done, you know, cut out all the shapes, prepare the shapes, put the shapes on the background fabric, stitch it all down. I thought I could get it all done in an evening. And I was very, very mistaken. It took me 3 evenings and part of a day to work on it, but I was determined. I wanted to get this block done so bad. But I love it. It's not perfect. I have a lot to learn about points. I need to watch some videos on how to turn those points because I've looked at tons of applique pictures and all the points always look so amazing. And I used fabric from my stash, so like the bird, it ate up quite a bit of fabric. I was very surprised how much fabric it ate up, but it's totally worth it. This block is massive. I think the finished block in the quilt is 20 or 21 inches square, so it's a huge, huge block. Well, friends, that brings me to the end of today's video. If you've stuck around till the end, thank you so very much. I do greatly appreciate it. Everything that I have shown and shared in today's video will be listed down below in the description box if you're at all interested. I do so very much appreciate all of you guys who come and hang out with me every 2 weeks. If you'd like to see what I am up to in between my videos, you can find me on Instagram. I'm Pumpkin Hollow Quilts, and I do have a Facebook page called Pumpkin Hollow Quilting. Thank you so very much for stopping by today, and I will see you all again next time. Bye-bye.